Hello, guys. Welcome back. You just missed a lot of foul language for reasons we're not going to go into because I just ruined 6 takes in a row talking about it. But I wanted to talk to you about, you know, the stories we have about our gods, and part of this is not going to be about Loki, and I'm not going to give you a timestamp, and too bad. You guys know how I am. I'm blunt. And, like, the dream. Let's start with the dream. The dream, of course, was Apollo letting me know he felt like I was challenging him because I wouldn't work with him and he was not happy about it. And Loki's like, you are very lucky that, you challenged Apollo and he's just letting you know in a dream that he's not happy. Not, I don't want people to think like Apollo is a terrible god or anything, but he's like, you affronted a god. Do you have any idea of what gods and humans are at all? And it is kind of hard for me to think that way because my mind's more like, if I don't like you, I don't like you. I don't care if you're a god or not. And I'd had some issues with Apollo, and it was the same issues I had with the Greek gods. Now, when I was brought up, as we were learning about them in school, remember, we were being taught these stories by Christians, so maybe that makes a difference. But we were taught the Greek gods only love beautiful people, and I wasn't beautiful, so I need not apply. And I'm not telling you that so you feel bad, but I already had a reason to have a chip on my shoulder against them. And, as Apollo would have, like, the music contest, kind of like concerts and everything, and all these musicians would come, who was it, Homer couldn't go because he was blind, because Apollo only loved beautiful people, beautiful, perfect people. And I had a really big chip on my shoulder, and I hated Apollo for a long time. I was like, that had been so suppressed, I forgot about, but as Apollo kept coming around, and as I felt pestering me, because I couldn't remember why I really didn't like this god. I just knew I didn't like him, and then I'm like, oh, I remember why I don't like you. And Apollo, of course, pinned my ears back for me. He says, oh, okay, I hate blind people and everything. Who gave them the gift of music? Is there this imaginary god of music running around giving them gifts while I'm not looking? And he really pinned my ears back for me. He's like saying, those are humans making up these rules. Did I come down in all my glory and tell these people specific things? No, these are, what the organizers came up with. And so I got my ears pinned back, and I'd been watching a thing on Apollo today because I'm like, well, when you're, sounds terrible, but when you're dealing with a god, it's almost like when you're at war, know your enemy. And I really did not want to work with him, so I kind of went out to gather evidence so I didn't have to work with him. And it was done from an archaeology perspective. And they talked about his temple on the one island. And as they dug down really far, they found all these goddess statues. And as, the layers came up, they found god statues. And this was interesting. They were like little tiny votive figures like we would have now. And, they were trying to explain this until they finally figured out that, it was a temple where we get the story from where, Gaia, however you pronounce her name, she had Python as the protectoress of her temple, and Python would go about, and Apollo came in and shot a Python until Python was dead. And I think, like in later stories, they try to make Python sound worse and worse so that, Apollo looked good. But they needed a story to explain why this god supplanted this goddess. In the story, Apollo kind of looks like a jerk. The island he's born on isn't good enough for him, so he goes out and he steals someone else's island by killing the guardian of the island. And Apollo's response to that was, sounds like a story to explain why one religion was replaced by another, doesn't it? Because you have to remember, the Greek city-states were not unified. Apollo's temples became neutral grounds because these people fought so much, and that was normal. Like, Germanic tribes weren't unified either. So a lot of the stories we have of these gods bashing each other in the head, or sleeping with each other's wives, or doing all this crap that they did, that's from all these disjointed, ununified people making up stories. It's not from the gods acting badly. Okay? And, Apollo pinned my ears back quite a few times about humans in our stories and everything else. And when the other gods pointed that the only thing wrong with human religion is humans. So, and I needed the dressing down. I did, because it was that. But then Apollo really got around to it again. He's like, who gets to say what humans are pretty and what humans are ugly? And who gets to say who Apollo loves and gives gifts to? And who gets to say who Apollo works with? He can get really loud. It must be for being the god of music. It's like he carries an amp. It's amazing. It's not amazing when he's mad, but afterwards it's like, wow, you've really got some volume on you. I thought Loki could yell. And I don't go out of my way to antagonize gods, or, I have this chip on my shoulder, and Apollo was more than happy to knock it off for me. And, that proves that our gods are good gods. If he was like this terrible god that they say he is, he would have ground me into the ground for my insolence and being like that, but he's like, no. And, it shows you too, to get back to Loki, a lot of the stories we have, we know they had a Christian influence. They had to. And that's not necessarily an evil thing. It's not like the Christians all purposely sat around, let's destroy these gods, though some would have seen a competing thing. Remember, and this is going to blow some people's minds, not everybody in the church believes in God. Some people believe in money and power, and those are their gods, and Jehovah don't exist, and the only reason they destroy these other religions is because they were getting in the way of them having money, or power, or both, or land, or whatever other kind of crap they wanted. A lot of religion is hugely political, and as pagans we have to realize that. The thing on Apollo went on to say, this video on Apollo went on to say that there was known corruption in this one certain temple, that you could basically pay the priests off, and the more you paid the priests, the more attentive they were and would do these healings for you. And the same thing with the Oracle of Delphi. Well, maybe not Delphi, but certain oracles. They would pay the priest off to kind of tell them what they wanted to hear, because no one could go directly talk to the oracle. The oracle would say these things, and then the priest would come out and say these really vague things that could actually mean almost anything. It doesn't mean that Apollo is not an actual god and that it didn't exist. It just means that when corruption enters, the god sometimes leaves a temple, or sometimes they don't, but human interference really cocks things up. I know I have to stop using English sayings, but anyhow, and if you paid the priest enough, they would say oh, so-and-so should have this, and so-and-so should have that. Apollo said so. I'm like, doesn't that sound like the politics we have today? Instead of having temples, we have self-appointed priests and priestesses of these gods saying, oh, Apollo said I should have this, or Loki said I should have that, or Loki told me you're lying, or, and I'm like, wow, people haven't changed in thousands of years. Fancy that. So that was something to think about. And, and then, so if you hear stories about Loki, whether you're hearing stories here, or you're hearing stories from the myths, or you're hearing a god spouse talk, or a devotee talk, or someone that hates him talk, take them with a grain of salt and think of where the person's coming from. I'm open in that I'm trying to willingly promote and share Loki with people, but I'm honest. I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. But, think of where the story's coming from. If it's a story that makes you feel for whatever reason, think, is this person after fame? Are they after power? Are they after money? Do they want a subscriber base? What are they after? Do they want Loki for themselves and to chase you away? Do they want to make you feel like crap? Do they want to make it Loki loves me best kind of thing? Do they want competition? What are they after? Um, even though we have really pathetically little power on the internet, some people do go on an ego trip and a power trip, and then, it's like, there's a saying, when the anthropologists arrive, the gods leave. So, take some of the stuff you hear with a grain of salt. And in other news, I found a really interesting blog, and I'm not laughing at the blog. I laugh at inopportune times. You guys know that. It's a nervous habit. Like the doctor on The Simpsons. And, in the blog, the god that drove her nuts all her life was Hades. And Loki's like her best friend. And for me, it's like the opposite way around. I have Hades and I have Loki. Now, it is not the first time I found this blog, but it was kind of insightful, and it kind of made me wistful, because I'd kept diaries for years. Ever since I could write, I just wrote reams until the drugs screwed out my brain for good and forever. I've always written. And I had diary after diary after diary of all these experiences I had with Loki. And because I was told I was crazy, and I was told he didn't exist, and I had other gods too, probably more than likely. I wish I had these diaries. I burned them all. So that's like one resource I wish I had. And I was kind of ashamed of myself too. I felt like, people were telling me I was crazy, and I felt like I was pretending and all this other stuff. And I kind of wish I kept it. I mean, one man's religion is other man's psychosis. Some people think anyone that believes in anything is absolutely bonkers, off the wall, because you can't prove it. And some people accept beliefs as a healthy part of psychology, whether you can prove them or not, and so forth and so on. But it just made me kind of wistful. And I mean, I wrote them as a little girl, so it wouldn't be like I was sitting here reading Shakespeare or something. And it would not be probably something I would share, because to me it was pretty private. But I share what I deem appropriate, and what, like, I clear with Loki. It's like, I try to make sure I make a relationship look realistic, and I try to make sure, as I've written articles through the years, I share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, for example, with Apollo being here, one of the things we had to work out is, if he does a healing for me, it's going to be more emotional, helping me clean out, all the garbage I went through in my childhood. It's going to be more of that kind of healing, which is just as valid and important as anything else. You guys are never going to see my tremors disappear, or see me without glasses and have me say, "It's a miracle, Apollo healed me." I wish you could. I mean, if that could happen, I wish it could. But, I'm not saying Apollo can't heal. The mental healing will be just as important as anything else. But more than likely, I'm not going to wake up one day with my body completely healed and everything gone. I mean, if I do, I will be the first one to, like, be building a statue of Apollo out in my yard or something, Well, not building, buying on eBay or something, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and, that's okay with me. And we kind of had to talk about that too, because when you have a god come into your life, you kind of have to talk, where are they going to fit in? What are they going to do? What's your relationship going to be like? That's why I try really hard not to oversell you guys on Loki. I don't want to make him sound walk on water miraculous, and then when he doesn't do something for you, you're like emotionally devastated. It's like back when I was Christian trying to transition into paganism, I'd read these various articles, and people were writing them to be serious, of God healing people, like new teeth were growing, because people were praying to have money to like go to the dentist or whatever, and like new teeth were growing and teeth were healing spontaneously and everything, and like people, like their eyesight was healing and everything. And the church kind of has this long tradition of like faith healing, or like ponds, or not ponds, like fountains or whatever you can go to and be miraculously healed. Now, I don't want to sit here and have a discussion of whether it's like mind over matter or something, but most cases, for whatever reason, whether it's we're blocking the healing, or, and I don't think we do, because I hate people that go up to disabled people and say, you'd be healed if you'd have prayed hard enough, or crap like that, or you had enough faith, or crap like that. I don't think it is. I think there are limitations and laws in place even for the gods, and, you know, they have to obey them too. They can't break every rule for everyone, or, you know, life down here would actually be pretty boring, because, you know, we'd never have challenges to overcome. How could we, you know, grow and learn if we didn't have those challenges, as terrible as those challenges are? And, you know, nature is a thing. We do have to live in the world, and naturally things happen to our bodies. Okay, that was kind of long and rambly, but it took like 8 takes, because every time I was making a take, I was just like cussing up a storm. I heard somebody say here on this channel once, "I'm surprised to hear you swear." I'm like, really? That's what I do all the time. Oh yeah, you don't live with me. Yeah, I usually curse like a pirate. It's a miracle of the gods that I can put, you know, the headphones and the microphone on and not be like every video, because that's just how I normally talk, and I don't mean anything about it. I mean, it's just how I am. Anyhow, if you guys like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe. I was thinking of doing a little project on the channel, but I'm not going to do it because I think it would be going back towards junking up the channel. I was going to do nature tracks, and I was actually going to put decent music with it, because I can't monetize anything on the channel anyhow. But I'm not going to do it, because I think it would be junking up the channel, and I was just going to do it for a god. Like, I would do each one for, like, say, a certain god or something, but I wouldn't tell you who the god was, so you could take your own interpretation from it. But I'm like, no, it's okay, because my head, like, shakes and everything, and it was going to be, like, I'm, like, trying to figure out how do I film, because it doesn't activate until it's on your face. I'm like, how do I film without, you know, not having it on my head and stuff like that? And I'm like, you don't need to see shaky random video that looks like I was running away from a velociraptor and music. But yeah, just know that I do think of you guys, and you probably get 1/4 of the videos I think of. Actually, 3 out of 4 videos I just reject in my head. I'm like, nope, people don't want to hear about that. So there you go. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.